We've got oil collecting in the valleys of the valve cover. We've got oil residue down the back of this valve cover. We've got oil residue down the front, down the side. We've got oil collecting down there on a fastener for this valve cover. And do you see what I see? Right there's a crack in the valve cover. Great. Welcome back to the channel, DIY Mechanics of the Internet. And as you previously saw, Big Blue here has an oil leak. And if you've been around EcoBoost long enough, you know what that oil leak is. The valve cover. Specifically, where it cracks around the PCB housing area. So today's project then is replacing the valve cover. And while I have it off, I can actually see how bad my cam phasers are and how much time I may or may not have left to do a timing job on this engine. And since we have that wonderful automotive engineering, you know, the one that said, yes, let's run the intake plenum through the valve cover, I also have new gaskets for the upper intake plenum. And per Ford's procedure, it does say to have some RTV in 2 spots where the timing cover meets the head. I didn't get Motorcraft, I got Permatex. And, well, that's it. Looking over the procedure, it seems to be a pretty straightforward task. You know as well as I do, nothing ever goes to the way it's supposed to go, right? Let's get this apart and get started, shall we? I'd also like to note that throughout this video, you are standing right here, and I am right here. So there might be times where I'm pointing to something, I'm going to try and describe what I'm doing as best that I can, but you may not see it, you're just gonna see my big ass head. Because again, you are right here looking this way, and I'm right here working. Also noting that I called these sensors, these 2 sensor solenoids are VVTs. They're actually VCTs, so I mispronounced that throughout the whole video. I know, I'm going to hear it in the comments. Before getting started on this project, Ford's procedure states, as it does in all of their repair procedures, to disconnect the battery. If you don't want to disconnect the battery, at least pull the battery out of the key fob so that your vehicle doesn't accidentally get remote started while you're in here working on it. Task per the procedure, well, it shows this Y pipe removed. So that's what I'm going to do, is remove this. I believe it also says to remove the air cleaner box, but I'm not going to go through all of that. At least not right now, I'm not. So we just have these 2 little screw clamps right here. That seems to be pretty straightforward. And this right here. There's one. Is there a screw clamp right down here? Ouch. Yes. What the hell? Who? Okay. I thought as time advances forward, we're supposed to have much better engineering. It seems like as time has advanced forward, we have more incompetent engineering. What moron said put a screw right here? Why? So, and I just realized as you're doing this, you're going to do a lot of leaning over. And as you are leaning over, do not, or be cognizant of what you're putting your weight on. You don't want to put your weight on this as you lean over, because this isn't structural, and you don't want to put your weight on this degas bottle, because it's like $250 if you break it. So be careful of where you put your weight. Well, And be careful of what you do because you end up breaking stuff like I just did. As I was reaching around, I broke this. And as I said, if you're not careful, you'll break something. I just broke this. So now I gotta see if this is replaceable or if it's part of this whole hose right here. Well, the show has to go on. So we gotta wiggle. Okay, now we're gonna be very careful. Wiggle this and wiggle this way. And this comes off. There's a hose right here for the coolant. Why doesn't this come out? And there's a sensor right here. You want to be careful of that too. So we just squeeze and remove and then set the tube off to the side. And, well, that's going to be a bitch. Okay, so I'm going to be replacing the turbo inlet hose of my Expedition because I broke that. Because that looks welded to that plastic pipe. Yay. With that little bit of a setback out of the way, there's two 10mm nuts right here for the engine cover. It's going to come up and off. So we set that to the side. With the engine dressing removed, we got to focus on removing the connections and stuff for the intake plenum to remove it first before we work on the valve cover. And the procedure says there's a inlet or intake hose right here. It goes to the throttle body. You have to go underneath and disconnect it from the intercooler. I'm going to see if I can loosen these clamps and just kind of gingerly move this hose out of my way without going underneath. That looks to be a challenge because this hose is in the way too. So I'm just looking right now to see if there's a way to do that. I'm also looking at how old this is because I already broke one damn thing. I don't feel like breaking another one. Yay. Off to an excellent start with this. I'm going to loosen these two screws up and see. Ouch! I just got stabbed by the hood latch. Okay. Those are kind of moving. Ouch. Okay. Okay, that moves. Can I get this one to move too? Probably going to want to pick or leave the hose connected and unbolt the throttle body from the intake plenum, because I'm not thinking this hose is going to come undone that easy at all. And this hose right here is in my way. Well, the hose, well, that come off. Oh. So, I do have some movement, but as I've already learned, this shit's brittle, or this plastic's brittle, and I don't want to break any more shit. I wonder if I can just... This looks like it's a flexible hose right here. Okay, that's flexible. So I'm wondering if I can gingerly wiggle this intake out. If I can wiggle this out and I don't have to go underneath. The thing is, there is not a lot of room inside this thing. For as big as this engine bay is, and as small as this V6 is, there really is not a lot of room. I don't know. Am I up against the radiator? No. I'm making progress though. wonder if I can. And as you move this tube, be careful you don't torque it too much, because it's connected to the passenger side turbo, which I think it has a rubber boot that connects it to the turbo, but you still want to be cognizant of how you're moving this stuff around. So I'm grabbing underneath this intake and pulling this out, trying to break that seal on that rubber. And I don't know. Oh, wow. So this plenum, or this pipe, the end of it's right here where my hand is, my finger's in. I don't have that much area to go back against, I don't think. So, reposition here. Trying to get down in here to get this pipe out. God, there's no way to fucking get up here to get this. Holy shit. This is like the most difficult part here. Trying to fight this intake pipe right here to get this removed. And it's in there pretty good. So what I'm trying to do right now is pull this tube out. But it legitimately just like does not want to come out. But I'm very close to it because right here where my thumb is at the end of that tube. So far, this seems to be the biggest pain in the ass to deal with. So far. Wow. I'm getting it out, but it is not coming easy. And I have no leverage to pull, because right here's a tube. And if I use that as leverage to pull, I'll be breaking that too probably, which would be another tube I have to replace. Oh, okay. That's out. That was a bitch to do. Now, we're kind of getting somewhere with this because this is loose. So now I'm going to go and remove the rest of these connectors. Starting with right here closest to you, and these green ones right here, which pop up and slide off. Which is probably what I recommended to do over here on the intake side. And had I done that, I probably wouldn't have broke this piece off. I wonder, you think I could JB weld that back onto the pipe? Maybe, maybe not. Remove this green connector right here. Gingerly. And that comes off. And that comes off. And I'm gonna move the pipe out of the hose right there. Or right here where my hand's at, there's a bracket right here. Remove this pipe out because it goes back there. So that's removed. Remove the electrical connector from the throttle body. This has a red tab on it. Pull the red tab towards the vehicle, or push it towards the vehicle so it unlocks. With it unlocked, the connector should slide out. Ow! So the connector slides out. That's done. Another PVC hose. What kind of connector is this? What the hell? So there's a little gray clip. I just pushed it down, or pulled up and pushed it down, and then pushed down on the connector, and it wiggles itself up. And then that way I'm just leaving that connected to the intake plenum itself. So there's a wiring harness here in the back to the MAF MAP or MAF. I think it's MAF, MAF. We're gonna have to reach back there and disconnect that sensor. I'm all the way in the back here. I don't know how much you're gonna see. There's a white tab. Push the white tab towards the firewall. Yep. And then it should allow you to pull the wiring towards the firewall and leave the sensor in the valve cover. To the left of that, there's this wiring harness. It's got clips that sit in the intake plenum. We're gonna have to pop those clips off gingerly as I'm like leaning all the way over my Expedition here. See if I can't get underneath these plastic Christmas trees and lift these off. Okay. Well, that one broke on me. Why am I not surprised? All of this to change a valve cover. Okay. Yep. So with that removed, the sensors in the back removed, the last thing we have to do now is I think this is the EGR stuff right here. Lean all the way back into our Expedition again. There's a green tab back here. We gotta move the tabs and push it up. Dislodge the tabs on the side, it looks like, and then just push this thing up like that. And push that back towards the firewall. And there's another sensor beside it to the left with a white tab. Push that tab to the... I wonder if I could just lift this up. Can I just lift this up off of this valve cover? Actually, wait a minute, Ford. Wait a minute. What the hell? Okay. Oh. The directions say this does just come up. Okay. So I would remove the hose to give you more leverage, but I would leave the connector, the wiring connector there. And that kind of just sits like that. Although if you do push the tab towards the white tab towards the firewall on that sensor and then disconnect it, you actually can remove this out of your way. And that's one less thing to deal with. Okay. I believe that is time for a break. And when we come back, we got our bolts right here. We should be able to remove our intake plenum. With the intake plenum mostly ready to come out, before I remove it, I'm going to work on removing all the wiring for the valve cover and getting it prepped. That way I don't have the intake ports exposed that long. Or I can keep the engine sealed. I don't have to risk anything else going wrong. So to get started, I'm going to lean over my Expedition again, resting on the radiator, and remove this front, or this PVC hose, which, like the other one, there's a gray tab back in the back towards the firewall. Pull that tab up and push it towards the tire well, and then push down on the PVC and pull up. And the hose will come up. And then we have all these little white clips for the VVTs that are right here. So we're going to want to gingerly nudge those up. I damn sure don't want to be breaking any of this stuff. And then gingerly remove the wiring. Like so. Same with the spark plugs. It's got white tabs. Gingerly push the tab down towards the ground. And then those should... What am I calling on? The hood latches. Stabbing me. And then once you have the white tab pushed out, a gentle wiggle, and the connector should come undone from the coil pack. Great. What is this? What is that? Now this PVC tube is pretty solid, so don't be moving it around or you end up breaking it. it too has a electrical connector right here at the end of it. And it's got one of those white tabs, so push the tab towards the ground and then gingerly remove the sensor if it wants to be removed. And then that allows you to rotate this whole assembly up and out of the way. Now, I'm going to come back in the back here and work on these two rear sensors. I'm not sure what you're going to be able to see. Gingerly remove that one and gingerly remove that one. Okay. All right. Now, so starting up front by the oil fill cap, down behind it, there's a Christmas tree. We're going to have to gingerly get under that one and push and pull it up. Now, this has also got a wire going down, further down, so be very careful that you don't do damage to that wire. Behind the first coil pack in front of the oil dipstick, there's a Christmas tree too. Okay, Ford. I like some of your engineering, but this is a little much. Conversely, you probably could just cut the zip ties off the Christmas trees, and then you ain't gonna worry about it. Behind the second coil pack, there's two Christmas trees. One right here, one in between the second and third coil pack, and then there's a Christmas tree above that coil pack. Oh, I'm gonna need a light to see that. And do I have anything to put this back here so that I have a light? The steering shaft works just fine. All right. So, there's a Christmas tree there. And part of this wiring harness goes to the electronic blow-off valve for the turbo. I don't think disconnecting it's going to do anything, because this wiring harness isn't really going to go anywhere. We just have to remove the Christmas trees out of it so that we can get the valve cover off. This might be one that I just cut. And the new valve cover does not come with new Christmas trees. All right. So that's done. And there's one more Christmas tree all the way in the back here. Let's connect it to this valve cover. And this might be a bitch to get to. It's back in here. There we go. Okay. All right. So the wiring harness is done. So it looks like, my big head's not in the way, there's a wiring like a Christmas tree cap back here over a bolt. I'll have to see that when we remove the intake plenum. Okay, I'm going to remove these coil packs now. It's a size 8. Well, that was actually pretty easy to remove. All right, they're all loose. Now, gingerly, I'm going to rock them loose to see if I can just pull it out. It's loose. Okay. Okay, well, that one wasn't easy. Where'd you go, you little bastard? Oh. Well, I guess I'll be going to the dealership. Oh, no. Oh, I got saved. It's right here on the heat shield of the turbo. Holy moly. Let's not make that mistake again. And there's the other coil pack. Okay, that part's done. Now, we've got to remove these two sensors here in the back. And I'm not sure if that's an 8 or something smaller. Those are an 8 as well. There we go. I definitely do not want to lose this bolt. So that goes up there. And that goes up there. Oh, okay. So those just kind of slide out. You probably could remove the valve cover and then remove those sensors. I'm now going to take a small flathead screwdriver and I'm going to go around all these seals between the VVTs and the spark plugs, making sure they're all free so I don't have to worry about them sticking. What the hell? There's too much shit down in this area. Alright, so I kind of did what I could there. Is this an 8? It's an 8. At least we're somewhat consistent. So now we gingerly crack this loose. Is there any bolts back here? There's one where my finger's at. There's one right here. All right, they're all loose. Pretty good, actually. And there is some movement. Are these captive bolts or not? They're captive. Oh, I gotta reposition. I have a hood latch going on my belly. Okay, all the bolts are loose. Everything is disconnected. I'm hoping everything's disconnected. No, it's not. There's a plastic weird Christmas tree. And we gotta fight this. I'm gonna fight this tube again. Oh, there we go. Okay. And we're up. We're up. Well, that's mildly infuriating there, Ford. Okay. We got everything up and away. Nope. We got that stupid... There's a wiring Christmas tree back here. I can't see. And I can tell you this, that when I put this back together, yeah, that bitch is not going back on. There we go. Okay. So, get this out of the way. Gingerly, this clip is in the back of the intake plenum. Okay. And our intake plenum is off. Gingerly set that aside. And I'm gonna get some paper towels to shove in those holes. I'm gonna go in that hole. I'm gonna go in this hole. I'm gonna go in this hole. And then for right now, until I get the bolts undone, we're gonna go over here into this hole for the valve cover. Now that that's done, all that's left to do is crack open the perimeter bolts of the valve cover. This is that one little thing I mentioned earlier in the back of the wiring harnesses. Okay, so that's off. And then we gotta remove the dipstick. And we're ready for a break. All right, now we're ready to remove this valve cover. 10 millimeter are the perimeter bolts. Let's see what we got to do. Well, that was pretty simple. All right. And judging by the new one, These are captive. All right, so we're going to have to, again, lay on our expedition. Oh, I forgot. Well, let me loosen these perimeter bolts up here. There's 2 more that I forgot to go look at. Well, what the heck? Some of these have a lot of resistance and some of them don't. Oh! I'll give it this though. I have a feeling I'm going to be buying that topside creeper. I'll spend the $400. So I ain't got to do this again. Or at least lay like this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Uh-oh. I need a deep well socket for that one. I kind of had to get a bigger ratchet and a bigger socket. Because this back corner back here, it's got a stud on it. And I don't have any deep well 3/8 inch drives. All right, that's loose. Working our way around. Oh. Oh, that's a little, there we go. Boy, this whole back half is caked with oil. The only thing I have left to do now is the tube bracket that's down here. In a previous video where I placed the HVAC hoses, there's a bracket over there with those tubes, the intake and the outtake tube with the turbo. Sit in a bracket. Well, that bracket's on the edge of this valve cover here. So I need to remove this bracket down here. I think these are 8s. They are. Oh, wait. How am I going to remove this bracket if there's no wiggle room on that charge pipe? That's one small nut. Don't go losing it. Well, holy Lord. Are we done yet? Are we done? No. Man. Okay. Are we done at the end? Yes. Alright, set those to the side. Set that up there. Something tells me this isn't going to come off of this bracket that easy. Particularly because the directions did not say to remove the high pressure side of the turbo that I'm aware of. It did not say to do that. So that means this bracket is kind of fixated right here. I need both arms. Let me get you repositioned so you can see what it is that I'm doing. So right here is the oil fill cap. And down here is the high pressure side of the turbocharger. And then these tubes sit on a bracket right here at the end of this valve cover. So to get some wiggle room for these pipes, I need to disconnect the pipe from the turbocharger, the high side. Without dropping my screwdriver. And then gingerly, without breaking anything else, pull this pipe. The instructions from Ford did not say to remove this pipe. And as you pull up on this pipe, be careful, your turbo's right there. Don't do something stupid. What the son of a... Okay, that's removed. What the... Okay, well, come on. What the hell? Okay. Oh my God. That was a pain in the ass. Okay. Let me show you what I did. So, right here's the turbo. The piece that I broke right here. Right here's this bracket that's got to come off. And to do that, I took this tube out of the output side of the turbo. So be very careful when you're down there working. And also make sure you don't drop anything inside that blue tube at the end of my finger. Now with the bracket out of the way, and these two studs are kind of deep, and I don't have a deep well socket, at least in 3/8 inch I don't. I only have 1.5 inch. We got a bigger wrench, way bigger socket and wrench than what I need. For this position. Okay. And getting these is going to be kind of a challenge. Okay. Well, oh, there we are. Okay. Let's get on the nut here. Come on. There we go. Crack it loose. With them cracked loose, I can then just hopefully hand thread them out of the way. Oh. But this bracket is very much in my way. Oh. Come on. Oh. And we're back to hoses being in my damn way. That's what we're back in mode with. Oh. I think my shoulder's in your way. Alright, I think those are done. So now I can crack the rest of them loose. Alright, with those cracked, now I can probably go through and make sure the rest of these are loose. I really don't know what you're going to be able to see. Oh, I need to go back further. Oh, I'm all the way back in the back. And I'm on my stomach. And diaphragm. Wow, this is a mildly infuriating task to do. There we go. That one's loose. That one's all the way out. That one's all the way out. And that one's all the way out. Do I have one buried back in here? Nope. No bolts. Okay. Now it's time to remove this valve cover. And maybe on a positive note, once this is removed, I might get an idea on how bad my phasers are. Because I do have that startup rattle. I might need a way to pry this valve cover up. And I'm not sure how to go about doing that. Because there's really no pry points. Is there? Particularly, I don't see any pry points. What's behind here? There's a... Oh. So I put a little pry point right here where my hand is at. And that lifted it up. These fucking turbo inlet pipes are in my way. Again. Gotta be careful, I'm gonna be breaking another fucking piece of piping in here. Ooh. Okay. Did I forget a bolt somewhere? No. No. Okay. No, that's out. That's out. Okay, that's good. Well, we're getting somewhere. Might need a small screwdriver to break open these, or to crack the seals around the VVTs. Because that's where mine is sticking right here. Oh my God. Oh. Practically laying on top of this whole engine bay in here. And there's not a lot of stuff to pry off of because everything is plastic. Because that's how we engineer our vehicles this day and age. Plastic. Oh, wait. We engineer vehicles to be disposable, not to be repairable. I can't get underneath there. Oh. I'm just trying to crack the seals around the VVTs. Did I forget a bolt somewhere? No. Is there a way? Okay. There's too many wires. I don't have nowhere. So what I'm trying to do right now is make sure the seals around the VVTs is loose or is broke so that I can lift this valve cover. It's broke free, but some of the problem is I can't get leverage to pull up on it. I don't have anywhere to stand to pull up on it, so I'm laying halfway across the front end of this. Everything in this engine bay is plastic and brittle. The intake tubes and the outtake tube of the turbocharger are pressing against the lower corner of this valve cover, so I can't really I can't get that moved away anywhere. Those can't go, those don't go nowhere. In Ford's procedure, in bold print, there's a statement that says that when removing the valve cover, you do not want to apply excessive upward pressure, as doing so, you could damage the VCT solenoid, you could damage the VCT solenoid electrical connector, or you could damage the VCT solenoid seals themselves if you plan on reusing the valve cover. As you saw previously, I was using a small flat-tipped screwdriver to gingerly work around each VCT seal, and then I would go and apply some upward pressure to the front of the valve cover. Then I would go and use that same flat-tipped screwdriver and work the seal around each spark plug well, and then gently apply more upward pressure. It took me about 10-15 minutes, and I was finally able to release the valve cover, as you will see next. Whatever tool that you use to separate the seals from the VCT solenoids or the spark plug wells, you want to pay attention that you do not mar the exterior of those solenoids or of the spark plug wells themselves. So after about 10 minutes of fighting, fidgeting, and everything, laying on my stomach, using a small pick screwdriver to get around the VVTs, I finally have this valve cover off. Well, I think I do. I am definitely going to invest the money and get a topside creeper so that I can get up in here. Now I'm going to try and gingerly remove this valve cover. God damn it. Okay, the valve cover is removed. Oh, and there's the gasket too. Oh my God. That was a bitch. Looking at my cam phasers right here, your intake and the exhaust, I have the old style, which has the spring that you see right here. This is the open style, the style that's prone to fail, because internally there's a lock that locks the cam phaser to the cam shaft, and that lock wears out, and then this is able to rotate freely. But that's pretty solid, so it makes me think that the setup rattle that I have is on the passenger side of the engine. Now I need to get some brake clean out. We got to clean off that RTV right there, and there's a spot down here that has to get cleaned up as well. Clean the mating surface, and we got to put the new valve cover in. So gingerly what I'm going to do with the blade, I don't have a plastic blade, is I'm going to ever nonchalantly peel away this gasket remover, or this gasket that's right here, without nicking the cylinder head itself. I also don't want any of the RTV silicone to be down inside the engine bay. If you have a plastic putty knife, I would use that. Oh. And as you wipe this, wipe away from the engine. Wipe away from it. I keep grabbing the wrong damn towel. Alright, that's probably as good as mine is going to get. I don't have the RTV gasket remover. Boy, they really put a lot of that on there too, didn't they? The other one that needs to be removed is down here where this bracket for the turbos were. That's the other one that gets removed. And I don't know who put this from the factory, but my God, did they really cake this on there. This one's going to be the challenge one to get to because it's in an awkward spot. You also want to be sure that you don't drop any of that RTV down inside the timing cover. You also want to be sure you don't drop your scraping tool down inside that engine cover, or you will be up shit creek real quick. Okay. So you want to be very careful. Now, I'm going to get some brake clean out and brake clean the perimeter of this area. So I have a nice clean mating surface. And this wiring is massively in my way. That's the next stop. I don't want anything on the inside the engine. I don't see a lot of varnish inside there for having 89,000 miles on it. But it's a new engine. It's got 89,000 miles. There shouldn't be anything on the inside of this engine. And of course, I have wind to deal with. So I'm going to gingerly spray this on the side. Damn it. So I'm going to gingerly spray this on the towel itself and just clean this mating surface as best that I can. There we are. Sounded like something was dying in my neighbor's house. Well, Getting this back ridge back here might be a challenge as you're reaching over everything. There we go. There we are. There's a spot right here I want to get cleaned. Right here by the front where this bracket sits. And I want to clean up the front of this timing cover that sits right here too. Well, the skies are getting a little bit dark. The wind is picking up, so I need to get this project done. I just noticed I've had this new valve cover for a couple months now. And I just noticed it doesn't have a new oil cap. So I have to remove the old one. So, does the old one, well, the old one's got wiggle room. Does it twist? Twist? Ford's instructions did not specify how to remove that oil cap at all. But I see this little clip right here. I'm wondering if I can gingerly tweak this out. Oh, there we go. That works. So, are you going to be able to see what it is I'm doing? So on the old valve cover, tweak this out to get over this ridge right here. And then this should rotate out. Sweet! And before I put it in there, I'm going to use a paper towel and clean the O-ring of this. And then this should sit. Oh, it screws in. Ha! So, find a thread like that and rotate towards you, depending on how you're holding it, and that will clip in. That was pretty straightforward. I don't think I need anything else off this old valve cover. So this monstrosity can go away. Off to the side. On the new one, I'm going to put the new sensors that go in the back. I'm going to clean them, and I'm going to put them in before I put the valve cover on. And the instructions say put a little bit of oil on those as well. So that's what we're going to do. If I can get some oil. I'm going to put some fresh oil on the O-rings. Like so. And the torque spec for those two bolts will be down in the description. Now I need to climb up there on the truck and get those two little bolts to torque them down. There we go. A little bit of a snug. Voila. And that's it as far as the new valve cover goes. But I need to put RTV per the directions shown here. I need to put some RTV on the cylinder head at those two locations where I scraped it off. I'm going to remove this old one, and I'm going to... So it looks pretty straightforward. That part's done. Yippee. Set this valve cover aside, and I'm going to put the new gaskets in on the intake plenum. Part numbers for this will be down in the description. These don't really look smashed at all, actually. Make sure everything's nice and clean of any kind of dirt or debris. oil, anything like that. And these are all relatively universal. No special design or special sides that it has to go in first. There we go. Okay. That part's done. Or now I'm gonna go put RTV and prep putting the new valve cover on. And before I do that, I'm gonna read the RTV that I'm using. What directions do I need to do? Assemble parts immediately while the silicone is wet. Finger tighten material, squeeze around the flange and dry it for 1 hour and then tighten the torque. So to my RTV, I got to put it where I need it, put the valve cover on, hand tighten it down, and then let it sit for an hour. Really? Let's put the new valve cover on, shall we? Okay, now that we're back up in here, we got to put the RTV on. Now Ford says RTV an 8, what do they say? 8mm bead of RT silicone on the front cover to cylinder head joints, which is right here and down here by this fucking bracket. Now, I don't have Motorcraft RTV TA357. I got Permatex Ultra Black 82180. So per my directions for this, I got to put it on and then assemble the parts while the silicone is wet. And then I finger tighten all the material, or I finger tighten until material begins to squeeze out around the flange. Then I dry it for 1 hour and then I torque everything down. I don't know if I want to let this sit for an hour before I torque everything down. It's just right here and right here. Maybe if I was doing the valve cover or the timing cover, I would let it sit an hour, then torque everything down. But I'd probably use Motorcraft for that. So, in my opinion, I'm going to put this on and then quickly assemble this valve cover. I don't know if I'm going to let it sit for that hour and then torque this valve cover down, because this job is pretty big and I'm outside. I don't have all day to kind of like sit here and do that. I'm also kind of curious, what does the dealership do? So I'm going to put my little line of RTV right here. Now when I removed this valve cover, you saw there was a huge gob of RTV right here. And Ford's description posted here does not show that. This is kind of a torsion thing here. Hey, I have nowhere to lay to do this. I need to make my hole bigger. Okay, now that I made this bigger, so I can squeeze this RTV out. This is not going to be the prettiest job. Okay, so I have the RTV where they wanted it to be. And now I'm going to put this valve cover on, making sure I have the gasket underneath. No debris inside this valve cover at all. No dirt, no nothing. And away we go. Okay. Now I got back to laying on my stomach again. Everything's in my way. Okay. So now I'm going to lay this get this wiring harness up out of that way. There we go. And then pull the towels out of the intake runners so I can set the valve cover down easily. And that's it. Oh, the fucking bracket for the turbo thing right there. Okay. And that is it. Now, Ford's directions state for these VVTs, there's a picture right here. Make sure the seals are below the top of the VCT. Oh, I called them VVTs. Oops. Let's rephrase that. Make sure the seals in the cover are below the top of the VCT oil solenoid connectors. So, I'm assuming they're going to want them pretty much right where they are. Okay. All the holes are there. No, this valve, this freaking bracket over here. Damn it. This bracket that's right here for this tube. Get those started. Okay. There we go. Everything. That's in the thread. So I hear thunder. Oh shit. So all I'm doing right now is going around making sure the threads of all the bolts catch. So I have a good alignment. That's all I'm doing. That's all I did there. And then I'm going to torque them all down by hand. And then I'm going to do the torquing sequence. So then, I'm just running these down by hand. I'm not torquing them down. There we go. I got one back here in the corner. Now, we got to run these bastards down. This bracket that sits right here. All right. Now, we get the torque wrench, and the torque procedure does not break the degas bottle. The CMP sensors, this torque spec is 71 inch-pounds. Okay, so Ford's procedure is 89 inch-pounds. I set mine to 91 for some variance. And right here as an overlay is going to be the actual torquing sequence. So bolt 1 is right here. All right, bolt 1. Bolt 2 is all the way back by the firewall. That's bolt 2. Oh, 3. 3 is this little bastard that sits up here. This little bracket bolt that sits right up here. I don't have a deep well 3/8 inch drive socket for that one. Oh, I'm gonna do a quick conversion real quick. So 89 inch-pounds is 8 foot-pounds. I don't have a deep well 3/8 inch drive socket. I only have a deep well 1/2 inch drive socket. And my 1/2 inch drive torque wrench only goes down to 50 foot-pounds. So right here where I'm at, down here at the bottom, where this fucking bracket is, I'm going to just use this to hand tighten this to 8 foot-pounds. All right, that's bolt number 3. Where's bolt 4? 4 is back. It's the same damn bolt. Bolt 4 is all the way back here. Is bolt 4 going in? Yes, it is. All right. That's probably, I did those by feel. That's bolt 4. Bolt 5 is this bolt right here. God. All right. Bolt 6 is the middle bolt right here. Oh, hell. Come on. That's 6. 7 is the one right beside it to the left, towards you. I guess it depends on how you're in the vehicle. 7. 8's right here in the middle. Yep. 9 is the one over here, towards the firewall. The second bolt from the firewall, right behind bolt 4, to the right of bolt 6. All right. And 10 is this guy right here. 11 is this front bolt right here. Okay, and 12 is the second bracket bolt right here. And again, I'm gonna do this by feel. Okay, that is the torquing sequence. So this was my first time working with RTV. And looking at Ford's directions, they did not specify if the line of RTV that you put down is to be in line with the cylinder head and the timing cover, or if it's to be perpendicular to the cylinder head and timing cover. Looking at the RTV that I took off was a giant glob of it, and it looked like it was in line with the cylinder head and timing cover. And I didn't think about it at the time, because when I applied my RTV, I just put a giant blob on the seam of the timing cover and the cylinder head. And here I am, up 200 to 250 miles later. I'm going to pull the appearance cover off, and I'm going to look at the 2 spots of where I put the RTV to see if there's any oil leaking. Now, EcoBoost experience tells me the top portion, or the top side closest to the air intake, that spot doesn't leak. But the bottom one where that bracket is at, I want to check that one. And since this is a very tight engine compartment, you're probably going to want a sight mirror to get underneath that bracket. So I'm going to bring you in here and see what I can show you. So what I'm here looking for is right here where this bolt's at the end of the light, if there's any oil leakage, because that's one of the spots where RTV goes. And as you can see, in the shadow of the light, looking above the green clip in that valley, there is no oil there. So that tells me that little repair is holding up. But that's about as good as it's going to get right there. So you see on the mirror, the silver cable coming down. Look below that cable, you will see a bolt. Look to the right of that bolt, and ever so carefully, you will see the old RTV and the silver RTV that I put on. That's going to be the spot, if it was to leak, that would be leaking. And the old residue that you do see there is from the old valve cover leaking down. I don't see any new oil residue, so that would give me the confirmation that that silver RTV on the mirror that is just below the silver wire up to the right of the bolt, that new silver RTV is my repair. That would give me the indication then that my repair is not leaking. Now I'm going to put the wiring harness back on put all the electrical connectors back, put the dipstick tube back. Come on. Get the hell back in there. There we go. And reconnect, reroute everything back up in here. Put this back over that. Clip, check. There's two wiring right here. Oh, they're different connectors, never mind. Click, click. Back in that, back in that, back in that, back in that. And you can go back in that. And Ford does not have anything about, it does not specify which one goes to which. But if I look back on the footage, the one with the Velcro was on this side. That part's done. That part's done. That part's done. Now, we do our coil packs. And the coil packs go back in. Make sure they're all the way down. Guess I should have put these in before I put the wiring harness back on, huh? And then we put our screws in. We hand thread those in. Give me the nuts, give me the bolts. The coil plugs go to 62 inch-pounds. Stage 1, and then 50 degrees after that. I don't think my torque wrench goes down that low. Oh, it does. It says 62 inch-pounds. I'm going to do 64. There we go. There we go. And then it says 50 degrees. I set mine to 52 degrees. Well, that 50 degrees feels like it would torque this, it would break this. Yeah, I don't know about that. Reset. Oh, there we go. Okay, those are done. This stupid turbo bracket right here. Well, that's... the stupid turbo bracket has to get put back on this bracket right here. There we go. Wretched fucking thing. And then it's got two little 8mm nuts. These get torqued. I don't remember what it was. It'll be down in the description as well. So now, all I need is oh, okay. There we go. PVC tube. Coming back over here. Make sure it pushes down and clicks into place. And then we reconnect it. Okay. We're making some progress. Now I'm going to lift up my high boost tube here. We're going to try to anyway. Right here. Wonder if it's easier if I remove those nuts first. And that way I have... Damn it. Okay. There we go. Now, Okay, so let's not put the PVC pipe back into place yet because I have to get the turbo tube back into place. Okay, come on. Come on, you bitch. There we go. Oh my God. Put that back down, make sure it's latched, and reconnect the sensor that's right here. And we're nearing completion of this job. Get the other bolt right here. Okay. I'm gonna get a flathead screwdriver and redo this clamp before I forget. Okay. There we go. Okay. That's done. And I'm gonna clean these surfaces right here. And I'm gonna put the intake plenum back on now. And then I'm gonna go kill a fifth of jack. Okay, so right now I'm going to pull out my little towels right here, like so. Spray brake clean on one, a clean one, and clean the mating surface of this valve cover. Okay, make sure this goes back in here. And now the intake plenum with its new gaskets. Oh, I am slightly beat the hell on a handbasket here because of this constant. What the hell? Yeah, that says bottom. That's where that goes. Why doesn't this want to sit in place now? Of course, it's this pipe that's right here for the throttle body. Oh my gosh. Come on. This. Okay. Come on. I might need a pick to get the rest of this. There we go. Okay. I don't think I'll realign. Not particularly. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, perfect. There. Okay. Okay. We're not sitting the way we need to be sitting. Why are we not sitting the way that we need to be sitting? What the heck? Come on. Okay, one's in. What the fuck? Okay. And everything is in place. I can... Of course there's going to be another hose right here. Alright, alright. Okay. Now I'm going to go through and hand tighten everything down. And then I'll come back with the specs to torque everything down. Don't give me the damn thing. while I'm back here, I'm gonna plug in this MAF sensor, lock that into place, and then I'm gonna put these, give me my glove back, these Christmas trees back into place right here. That one broke on me. We don't need to tell anybody that it broke. Okay, reconnect this PVC. Make sure it doesn't come back up. Make sure this one doesn't come back up. Okay, let's get the procedure to torque this down. All right, now, Ford's procedure for this is, torque sequence will be on the screen, and the torque is 89 inch-pound stage 1, 45-degree angle would be stage 2. Ouch. We got bolt 1 is right here. There we go. Bolt 2 is right here. Bolt 3 is this one. Oh, this must have been. So, oh, damn. This right here is bolt 1. So that's bolt 1. This is bolt 2. This is bolt 3. This is bolt 4. Bolt 5 right here in the front. Bolt 6 all the way. Oh! In the back. And bolt 7 is on the other one, or is on the other side. Give me back my glove. There we go. And this is bolt 8. All right, now we have to go to 45-degree angle. Yep, 45. All right, same sequence. Oh, that's pretty cool. Oh, where? So that is 1. The laptop is making me blind. 2, 3. Oh. 4. Perfect. 5. There we go. There's 6. There's 7. Ooh. Oh, right here. Yep, 8. And that's 8. All right. That's it. Now I gotta button up the air intake. And I'm gonna find some super glue for that piece I broke. So here's that piece I broke off. I got some Loctite 431 to put on there. I'm gonna let it set while I clean up my area and get ready to reassemble the air intake and whatnot. Now, I'm going to not get stabbed by the hood latch. Retighten this band clamp back right here. Make sure my electrical connector for the throttle body is reconnected. Push the red locking tab back down. Push this hose back into place so it connects. And then that hose goes there. Oh, we need this little hosey thing right here. to come back into place. This goes back in here. So the unit itself just slides back down onto the intake plenum. So this goes back right here, slides back down. Oh. Well, it's supposed to anyway, because it did just slide up. There we go. The connector in the back, bring it forward, push the green tab down, locking it into place without the hood latch jabbing me in the stomach. There we go. And don't forget the electrical connector that is to the left of it, locking its tab down. Right back up front, push this down, push the locking tab back down, securing that back into place. I gotta tighten those 2 bracket bolts down before I forget. All right, that part's done. All right, the final stretch of this project. So there's the piece that I super glued in. I don't want to go ham on it, but right now we'll see how that works. And I'll report back later. But now the final step is to put the Y pipe back in without breaking that damn piece again. All right, now we nonchalantly, ever so carefully, put our Y piece back in. Now that piece that I broke, that tube also comes with this Y tube, and it also comes with the sensor that's under this Y tube as well. But if I ain't got to replace the tube, I can just super glue it. That's what it's going to be. So we put that back on, and we realign and put this back on. Come on, come on. There we go. There we go. And now, okay. I would also make sure that the nub that I broke, remove it first before removing this inlet or this Y section. Tighten that back down. There is a torque spec for these actually, and I will put it down in the description. But I don't think a torque spec for this matters, so I'm just doing hand tight. But I will provide it to you if you're one of those that does everything by that way. Now, this little bastard is all the way underneath here. This is how it got broken in the first place. Because this bolt is all the way underneath this pipe. All right, and then we have to reconnect the sensor that's right here, and we're done. Well, and then I got to reconnect this pipe. On, re-engage. Hey. Oh, and then this has to go back in. Oh, come on. Come on, there we go. All right, that's it, folks. The project is done. Everything is done. So now I'm going to do one final walkthrough, making sure all my connectors that I removed are reattached and connected, firmly attached. Make sure the PVC hoses or any of the hoses I removed are reattached, and then I did not forget anything. So I'm going to start on the left side or the right side of the engine and work my way over to the left. Starting back here at the corner, I removed these Christmas trees, this wiring harness. The middle one broke, so I'm not really worried about it, but just make sure it's reattached. I did remove this PVC hose. It's reattached. I reconnected my throttle body, and it's attached. I did go through these 2 band clamps. They're tight. They're attached. This hose was removed. It's attached. This hose was removed. It's attached. Okay, yeah, that's attached. The VCTs, oh yeah, are right here. Those are attached. This, well, that's not supposed to do that. Hey, that doesn't have an O-ring. The other one, the old one had an O-ring. One moment. So, the old one had an O-ring. This one don't. I don't know if it's needed or not. So I'm going to put the O-ring back on there. And then re-engage this PVC valve. Listen. Does the O-ring go on there? I'm pushing down. What in the world? Okay. Is the O-ring not needed? What am I missing? O-ring? Maybe the... Nope. I don't know. Is there an O-ring on this one? Is there an O-ring on this one? No. Okay. That's clipped easily. Okay, let me know in the comments. O-ring or no O-ring? That's interesting. All the coil packs are tightened. I did those. We have all of our wiring connectors here. Those are all connected. In the back, we have this unit slides up and off. So I'll make sure this hose right here on my hand is reattached. And this wiring connector is right here. It's reattached. And the MAF sensor that's right here, it's reattached. Perfect. And then we have our oil dipstick right there. Check. Everything's locked into place. I didn't forget any bolts. We have the 2 bolts. Right down there is the bracket. The 2 bracket that you have to peel this bracket up and off that stud to get those 2 bolts undone. And to do that, I had to remove unclamp this band clamp and pull this hose or this tube out of this blue boot. So I'm going to make sure that this clamp is tight and there's no leaks around it. Okay, good. And nothing came disconnected down through there. That looks good. And the only other thing I'm going to check, or try to check, is right around here. Is this boot. Making sure this boot is firmly around the intake tube that's right here that I can't get to. And that's good. And those band clamps are tight. Oh. The project it's done. Old valve cover is removed. The new one is installed. Done. My whole left side right here is just sore and sensitive. The biggest friction point of this project is you're laying over your entire front clip. You're reaching over the clip, the front clip here, to remove the upper intake plenum, to reach back all the way back in here to get the bolts, and then reaching over this to pry up this valve cover. All your weight is rested right here. I was constantly shifting my weight between the intake right here and the air cleaner box, putting my weight right here between the degrass bottle and the intake, and then leaning over the entire front clip right here where the hood latch is and the degrass bottle. I was constantly getting impelled by the hood latch. And there was times that my whole body weight was like right here and I was reaching all the way back in there. That is the biggest difficulty or the biggest friction point of this entire job, is just where to put your body weight to lean over to get the stuff. Because I also didn't want to break this degrass bottle. I didn't want to smash this or break this. And I didn't want to break any of the plastic that was up here. So I had to be careful where I was putting my weight. And once you're beyond this, there is nothing in here to put your weight on. You either have one arm working on the engine and one arm stabilizing your weight against the cowl right here, or all your weight's right here and you're just leaning over down. That was the biggest friction pain point. The other pain point is actually removing the valve cover itself, because there's not much or anywhere in here to actually get leverage to break the seal between the valve cover and the gasket, between the valve cover and the gasket and the cylinder head. It makes lifting this up relatively a challenge. Personally, for me, the only other pain point that I had was the intake tube going into the throttle body. Getting that tube out of that rubber boot that connects it to the throttle body, that was a frustration point for me personally. That was about 15 minutes right there, because I had no leverage and I'm leaning over the front clip right here, adding more strain to my upper body, and I'm trying to pull this tube out with no leverage without breaking any of the sensors. So that took me some time, because when I was right here moving this band clamp, I pushed my hand here too far and broke this tube, which I had to use some Loctite, as you saw, and glue it back together. Otherwise, this whole assembly is like $180 something. But with those two out of the way, it was personally a pretty straightforward job. Pretty simple to do. Part numbers for the valve cover will be in the description, as well as the part number for the upper intake gaskets, because Force Procedures does state to replace those gaskets. Those will be in the description as well. All the torque specs will be in the description, both the first stage and the second stage for the plenum and for the valve cover, or the coil packs, not the valve cover. And the torque specs even for these bolts that are right here for the bands, for the band clamp. Why does that look bent? They will be down in the description as well. The procedure does state to remove this air cleaner box. I don't know why you would. I didn't. But there's a torque spec for this bolt right here on the fender well. That will be down in the description. The tray is still dropping stuff on me. The procedure does state to go down underneath where the intake tube comes out of the intercooler. There's a spring clamp. You remove that. It says to do that. I didn't do that. Maybe if I did, I'd had more wiggle room with that intake tube and getting it out of the throttle body. I skipped that part. Maybe that's why I had some frustration. So let me know in the comments if that's something that you would do or not. And that's it. The only thing I would advise is when you're leaning over this, just be careful where your elbows are. Be careful where you're placing your weight. There's a lot of plastic hoses in here, a lot of stuff just dangling in the air. You don't really have a lot of leverage. Make sure you have paper towels or something on hand to keep debris from going down inside the engine. On mine, when I removed the Christmas tree from the left side, or from the right side of the intake plenum, when you're looking at the left side, there was that broken part of the Christmas tree was down near the intake of, I think that's cylinder 4 over there. I don't remember. But that was pretty close. You probably get an air compressor, get the air hose, and blow this off before you go down that road if you wanted to. And last, just double check your work. Make sure all your connections are locked back in place, everything is connected and snug and secure before you go turning this over. The procedure that I use for today's project on Big Blue here may be applicable to its more upscale sibling, the Navigator. Let me know down in the comments if the procedure that I did here for today's project helped you with the maintenance of your Navigator. You would think they should be the same. They're built on the same damn line. Maintenance shouldn't be any different. Oh, there's a scratch. That was a project. For more expedition content, click this playlist. For more content posted this year, click this playlist. And to subscribe to this channel, click here.